But as Paul is coming into the church, people are saying, I don't know about this. Don't want him here. He's probably sneaking in, claiming to be one of us, just to get the names. He's going to get the enrollment list, and then go down the list arresting everybody. But we do the same thing. In verse 27, somebody read verse 27 of Acts 9. Not everybody was.
But Barnabas took him and brought him to the apostles and declared to them how on the road he had seen the Lord, who spoke to him, and how at Damascus he had preached boldly in the name of Jesus.
Aren't you thankful for Barnabas? He says, hey, not only do I believe in God, I believe God is a people changer. Isn't it amazing? We'll send Chris and Daniela to Slovenia to change those heathens. If somebody comes into our church, they would know their history. And we question whether God can change them. Well, he's always been a drunk. He'll always be a drunk. He's been a druggie. He'll always be a druggie. He's been whatever. Do we really believe God's in the people changing business? If so, shouldn't we reach out to people who say they've changed and encourage them? Lift them up? I mean, Donnie, you work with some, shall we say, the unsavory of society?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, yeah.
And yet, some of them just need encouraging. They get in there, they realize they've messed up, and they need somebody to say, hey, you can make it. You can go straight. You can stay out. But too many people in society, oh, yeah, you're next kind. We're not going to give you a job. We're not going to talk to you. We're not going to be around you. And so Barnabas says, I don't care what your past is. Where are you now? And what are you doing? And we need to look at people now, not who they used to be. There's a lady that I would enjoy coming to speak at church. But let me tell you something about her. When she was younger, she was a playboy bunny. She committed adultery. She did what playboy bunnies did. She drank. The whole gamut. Now, is that somebody that we would want to have speak at church?
It would be amazing to hear her testimony.
It is an amazing testimony.
I think it's great whenever I see someone that's, because like we've talked about before in the previous classes, and we all know, we're all sinners, and it's to see how the Lord can work in someone's life like that is amazing. It's great to see that. Somebody that's transparent. But we're all idolaters, and we're all guilty of those, adultery, and you list it.
Because God says you break one, you're broken them all.
What is that one verse where Christ says we should forgive others like He forgave us? How can we even compare? How can we say we can't forgive somebody if Christ forgave us so much?
See, and that's the key. If we realize how much God's forgiven us for, we can forgive others.
Yeah.
But too many of us think, oh, my sin's aren't so bad.
Well, we're better. We try to put ourselves on that.
And yet, in God's eyes, all sin's the same. By the way, you may know who that lady is I was talking about. Kate Arthur. Yeah. Before she met Jack, she was a whole different ballgame. So, but God changed her.
And she's amazing. I just started reading a book by her. It's Lord, teach me how to pray in 28 days.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just amazing. Just the way you can just, sense Christ, and even the way she writes. It's just like amazing.
And she was served Christ a long time now. So, but you said that God changed her. But if you just heard her past, I'm not sure we want somebody like that here. I mean, you look at Paul's past. He was in prison. He was stoned to death. He killed Christians. Yeah, I don't think we want him around here. But God changed him. Now, when he changed him, he spent some time in Arabia, in the desert, roughly 3 years. But then he goes to Jerusalem, and when he gets there, people don't like him. And so Barnabas says, I'll vouch for you. When's the last time you vouched for somebody? Last time that we said, hey, come on. You can sit with me. The number of people I've heard say, well, I just can't find a church, I have tattoos. Or my nose is pierced. Mm-hmm. Or, I don't wear the right clothing, or whatever the case may be. Come on, sit by me. Do we do that?
You know how many people have called me and said, hey, make sure you wear shorts this Sunday, because I told somebody, I invited somebody to church and they said they don't have any pants or nice clothes. So make sure you don't wear pants.
Don't have suit.
You're the short.
I've gone to, it's gotten to that, and it's happened more than one time from several different people. It's actually, I just got, don't worry.
Yeah. And that's why I don't preach in a suit anymore. I'll just wear my regular clothes and hat. Because I don't want people to think, well, I can't dress up.
I can tell you it's an odd feeling. I remember when I first came here, I was 18, and I did have a nose ring. I do have a tattoo. And I
was actually talking about you, but I didn't want to.
I got very uncomfortable wearing dresses in this church because I did get several looks, and I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But later, it was just, after I got saved, I was like, you know what, I don't care. I mean, it's there, it's a reminder of my past, I don't have, But even if we get a tattoo as a Christian, it doesn't make us any less valuable.
I hope not. My daughter has a couple, so I hope that's okay.
But I understand that it does make me feel uncomfortable. And some people probably don't come back, when they've had that first experience and they feel that way. And they're like, okay, I'm not coming back here again,
Or you go to a church, and the only thing you have is a lady of pants. And the church is one of these, you have to wear dresses. We actually had a lady come to the ministry and say they'd been going to this particular church. And they were wanting to continue going there, but the pastor's wife came to her and said, if you want to keep coming here, you need to learn to dress properly. Go over to Help in the Hurting and they'll give you some dresses for your house up to wear. Bless her heart, she went back to that church. I think I would have said goodbye. But, she did go back, so more to her. But, there are churches that are that way. There are churches that, if you have a different translation than the King James, you don't belong here. And what I love about that is those churches that say you have to preach from the King James. And the pastor gets in the pulpit and murders the King James and misquotes everything. But, hey, I'm using whatever. Somebody read verse 26 in chapter 9.
And when Saul was come to Jerusalem, he essayed to join himself to the disciples, but they were all afraid of him and believed not that he was a disciple.
Oh, I guess I should have told you chapter 11, verse 26. I'm sorry. You were still over at chapter 9. I was like, we were at 9, but I've jumped ahead to chapter 11. I'm sorry. 11:26.
And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch, and it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church, and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch.
So, the importance of Antioch, that's where we got the name Christians. Was it a term of endearment? Oh, I just love those Christians. Look what good they've done for the city. It was a term of derision. Y'all think you're like Christ, you little Christ-like people. And now we use it with pride.
Well, that's to the point that we're not though anymore. I'm very careful now to say I'm a Christian or I'm a follower of Christ or I'm a disciple of Christ, because so many people nowadays call themselves Christian, but they're not really an evangelical, or it's just
they're not true
I'm getting
believers
more
in
careful with the word Christian.
Because we have forgotten what it means. It does mean Christ image, Christ-like. Mm-hmm. If you're in Israel, on the passport, the Israeli passport, they put your religion. They have 3 possible religions. You're either Jewish, you're Muslim, or you're Christian. If you're an atheist, if you're a Hindu, if you're a Buddhist, they put you down as Christian. Because if you're not one of these two, the only thing left is Christian. So it doesn't really matter what you believe or if you believe, but you're not us, you're them. And so, we've lost the honor of saying, I follow Christ. And part of it is because of the freedoms we have in this country. Randy, I appreciate so much that you served and fought to keep our freedoms. But our freedom is one reason we have problems. Because we forget freedom is not free. And that's what Paul is writing in the book of Galatians. He says, we live under grace, but it came at a cost. Remember, you are bought with a price. You are not your own. And you're to live according to God's will. And so we need to look at that a little bit differently. But Barnabas comes aside, helps Paul get accepted. Paul goes back to Antioch, which was their base of operation. And then in chapter 13, we'll be picking up with the first missionary journey. Paul and Barnabas are ministering, and the church is hearing about these Gentiles that are accepting the faith. They're becoming Christians. That's kind of odd. Because Christianity started off as a Jewish religion. It was part of Judaism. It was originally in the temple, in the synagogues. What were these outsiders coming in for? Was it accepted? It's strange to us today to think they had an argument in the early church. Well, can Gentiles be Christians? Have we done anything like that in our society? Who do we struggle with?
Homosexuals.
Yeah, we mentioned that a few weeks ago. Can a homosexual be a Christian? Can an adulterer be a Christian? Y'all are young. Danny, you're not that young. The rest of y'all are young. I remember a time.
A very interesting post a apologist friend of mine posted yesterday on Facebook, and it was just saying there is no such thing as a homosexual. There's sodomy is a sin. There's people that practice sodomy, and that's all they do. That's what they're doing. And it's not that
There's a choice.
They're trying to make it into we're this big movement where it's just you're practicing this. We don't.
What do you say? Like if you're a plumber, it doesn't mean you were destined to be a plumber.
Right.
It's like
Because
we
that's
so
what you
many
do,
times we're like,
so.
oh, that's in our genes. Just because we're doing something doesn't mean that we were meant to do that.
And that would be the same philosophy. Well, I'm a man. I have to cheat. There are people who will say that. It's just in our genes. It's a choice. It's a choice. And we have to watch out for those choices. Anybody know Tony Evans?
Not personally.
Not personally. Okay. Back in the late 60s, Tony and I went to church together. Great guy. And we were in church together, and he was attending on a regular basis. And he decided to join. Now, those who know who Tony Evans is, knows his color of skin and my color of skin are kind of the exact opposites. He wanted to join, so he goes forward at the invitation and says, I want to join the church. Our church had a membership committee where you would go before them and give your testimony. And, they wanted to be sure, did you have a testimony? Did you understand what Christianity meant? So they come out afterwards and they say, we don't doubt he's Christian. We don't think he's trying to cause trouble. If you know anything about the late 60s and the race issues in the South, we don't think he's trying to cause trouble. But there are churches for his type, and he needs to join there. And they would not let him join.
I had a friend of mine I ran into yesterday, and he was telling me he travels a lot with business, and one of his favorite things is just getting to go to cool churches. Well, he was in Roanoke, Virginia,
Yeah.
and saw such and such Baptist church Wednesday night. Just kind of walks in, got there early. He said, he was like 3 people in the place when he come in.
Yeah.
And by the time service started, he was the only white man in the room. And everybody's just looking at him, and then when they started singing, and he was singing, and he said it got dead quiet in the middle of the song. And he's still singing, and he stops, like, and he opens his eyes, and the whole building's looking at him. He's like, and this little 9-year-old black woman comes up and says, "You're the first white man that's ever been here. We ain't never heard white people sing like that."
Yeah.
But he sat down with them, and he was the first white man. And today, and this was 2 months ago.
Yeah, we're still a very segregated society.
And right now, it's the most segregated hour of the week.
Mm-hmm.
We want to categorize sin too often.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a long discussion with some co-workers this week about categorizing sin and that, we're very eager to do that, I think,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what would we do if, and I don't mean to interrupt anything, but like, if someone like you're discussing or whatever, or homosexuals want to come into our church and worship with us. Or like you said, Osama bin Laden or something. That's really...
And that's why we have to realize that God's in the people changing business. And that's in His hands. And God doesn't go according to our regulations. The same church, we had a missionary that was from our church and we supported for a number of years in Africa. He and his wife retired. Their last time on the field, they adopted an African woman. So he comes back to this country, comes back to our church, and he was told, "Brother, we're glad you're back. We're glad that you and your wife have decided to join with us again, but this church is for her type, and you need to take her there."
Mm.
Saying, we support them to go to Africa. We want them to be saved, but don't you bring them into our building. And we still do that today, not so much with the race issue, but with homosexuality, with the economic level, with educational level. There's some churches that if you're not educated, you really can't get in. Matter of fact, there's a church here in town. If you're divorced, you may visit, but you cannot join. And they will tell you, you cannot join. Where's that come from? And Paul says, these Gentiles out here, those who are on the outside, need Christ as much as we do. And we need to reach out to people. Every opportunity God gives us. Can you do it in a restaurant? Can you do it at the bank? Can you do it in line somewhere? We need to be encouragers.
I heard someone had told me this, that when they go out to eat, right before they, usually if there's a waitress, right before they get their food, they say, "Hey, we're about to pray for our food. Is there something that we can pray for you about?" And we just tried that one time. And then
It's amazing how they
this
feel.
lady about broke down in tears. She said, "As a matter of fact, I have this happen this morning, and I would really appreciate prayer for that." And she was just...
And when you do that, you get known for that. And you'll walk into a restaurant and waitresses from across the way will come running over to you and say, "I need you to pray about this. I need you to pray for it."
And that could be just that little seed, that little planet. And so it's just, we have to share Christ.
We have a lady from Red Lobster we prayed with many times that when she gets assigned the office, she's planning on coming to visit with us. Because, that draws them. And we can do that.
It's like as a waitress, the meanest people, I think, and the ones we never liked Sundays. Because it was just, people didn't tip, people were unfriendly, and who were those people?
Church people tend to be the most demanding and the least tipping.
Yeah,
And for those who go in and are demanding and then leave a track as the tip with no money, that's a disgrace to Christianity.
But that's what it's, most people that you talk to that don't believe in God, the Christians are much of it.
And they are.
And that's what they see, and what a testimony that leaves for others that do really follow Christ.
And yet, there again,
We always say if we're going to mention we're from church or anything like that, or if we say, we're Christians or anything like that, we're at a restaurant, we tip 20% at least.
Yeah. and we need
Before we
to.
leave, because we don't want them to have the opinion of every Christian in every church.
That's good. Very good. So, and it's a matter of living the life. And as we get into the missionary journey, we'll see Paul lived the life. He didn't just go out and say, you need to change. He says, look what God did to me, and see how I'm living now. Any questions?
You gonna edit this part, right?
Yeah, go ahead at this part.
Okay, I had a situation when we went on vacation just a couple weeks ago. We do it once a year. We'll either go and get Hooters and bring them back home. The hot
The where?
I love
The
the
what?
hot wings. Okay? I love the hot wings from Hooters.
Yeah, you keep telling us that. We'll believe it.
Now we either go and we'll pick up a bunch, we'll all eat them. Well, this last time we had a large group of, I think there was 10 or 11. We went in and sat down and ate. And this bothered me for a little while afterwards, but we prayed before the meal, and which we always, do that. We always try to. And it was a pretty hefty bill or whatever. Whenever we got the bill or the check, and I had planned on leaving this lady, a pretty healthy tip. Because I wanted to do the right thing, and I know it's, that they don't make that much, and it's, they rely on those tips for a living as well, and they may have little ones at home or whatever. But I give her $100 or $105. It was like $103 to pay for all of us to eat. And I waited and waited. What I was going to do is I was going to let her give me my change back, and I was going to leave her, a pretty good sized tip there. Well, I waited, and I didn't say anything to anybody else sitting around there. Well, she never brought the dollar or something back, and that didn't sit well with me. And I said something after everybody got up, and left. I said, "Was there any change left out of that?" And she said there was like $1 or something. It was like $1. She said, "Oh, it's just $1." And I said, and it bothered me a little bit. I didn't really know if I handled it the right way. I said, I just want you to know. I said, I was going to leave you a good tip. But I said, I guess you got it. Because it kind of upset me when she done it that way. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, did I handle it the right way, or
Well, they
what?
probably already added 18% on the matter.
Since you had more than 8 people.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but that kind of bothered me a little bit. I felt like I may have handled it the wrong way, I guess. But
Yeah, I can see it now. Well, ma'am, I was going to leave you a good tip because I'm a Christian. What are you doing in a place like this? Well, before we ate, I prayed and asked God to keep my eyes closed.
yeah.
I focused on
Well,
wings.
like I told my wife, I mean, if you want to be just honest, about the whole thing, we were staying at the beach, and they have less clothes on at the beach than they do at Hooters. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
But you know what I'm saying? It's just I know it's the sound of it. Hooters, we don't hardly ever go there. But
Justifying yourself. I'm just
but
kidding.
once a year.
You're digging deep,
Hey, put
brother.
the shovel down, brother.
No, hey, I'm just being honest with you. We went, the other day I was at Wendy's. And I mean, this bothered me too. Stuff like this I think about a lot. You know what I mean? We was at Wendy's, or I was driving through the parking lot and get Abraham a Frosty after school. And there was a guy sitting out there at the curb. He was eating or smoking or something. And he was right there by the front door. And this guy had tattoos. I mean, he was just completely covered. Face, eyes, head, arms. And, it was hard for me to look at the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't really know why, but I looked at him. I had to try to make eye contact with him, and wave at him. But as I drove off, and I waved at him, I was just thinking, why couldn't I talk to him a little more, open up and...
Outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah. I mean, and I started immediately, I categorized that guy immediately. As soon as I seen him, like, man, that guy's not saved. I didn't say it out loud, but in my mind, I thought that. I've got a tattoo too. This guy has more than I do. He's covered from head to toe.
Well, I know a guy that he's got 2 sleeves, and when we went to start visiting his church, he had on a suit and a tie, and he started going, and then it's like, hey, we'll meet and we play basketball and have Bible study. Okay, sure. Shows up, it's not wearing his suit, and full-blown
Yeah.
sleeves.
It's because it's not what we're used to.
But
It's
he can
outside
reach
the
people
comfort
that we
zone.
can never reach.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
So,
But the fact you're tender about that
Yeah.
shows a good spirit.
A guy told me one time, he said, I forgot exactly how he put it, he come in our church and he had a lot of tattoos and stuff, and I was looking at him, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and I just started talking to him about it. He said, he said, it's funny reactions you get, one day, after I'd known him for a little while, I said, you ever get thrown out of church or whatever, you walk in, and he said, no, but I've had some strange reactions. He said, if I do, I just tell people I've been marked up by the world, and then Jesus saved me, and I come in, and sometimes this gets to be a point where I can witness to somebody that you can't.
That's true.
That's right.
Definitely.
And I was like, wow, that's cool.
Mhm.
Well, Donnie, how about posting some friendly